welcome to episode 1 of the Top Fin 5.5 Nano Reef video series. I wanted to document the life of this 5.5 tank as it progresses from startup to hopefully a pretty nice soft coral tank over the next couple months to year. And the reason I wanted to make this video series is because there just wasn't a lot of information on top fin 5.5 setups when I started to build this thing. There's a lot of information if you look up 5.5 reef tanks, a ton of information about that, but it seemed that a lot of people were using Aqueons or fluval spec tanks. You see a lot of different 5.5 setups, but I had a problem finding examples of people specifically using top fin 5.5s, and there were issues finding the right size hoods and what light setups people were running and that sort of thing. So this video series is kind of hopefully a way to give back to the community and pay it forward for other people that have maybe a top fin 5.5 starter kit like I did, a nice freshwater setup in there, and that want to convert to a reef setup, and you know they don't have a lot of space to go with anything bigger. So let's just dive right in. What I'm running right now, the equipment I'm running, I have the 5.5 gallon top fin tank, and that's pretty much the only thing I have from that starter set. That starter set comes with a hang-on back filter, top fin hang-on back filter, and a bunch of other gear, including a hood, a cheap plastic hood with an LED. That's all gone, just the tank has stayed. I am running a hang-on back filter, but it's an Aqueon 10, QuiteFlow 10, and the filters that come with that, and some additional filter floss that I picked up at the pet store. And that's it for the hang-on back filter. I may add some charcoal eventually if the water starts to get a little cloudy, but for now everything's running crystal clear, and I'm happy with it. So I'm running, for the PowerHead, I'm running a Rio Plus 50, and that was recommended by the fish tank guy in his starting up a 5.5 gallon tank on a budget video. If you haven't watched that, check it out. He recommends a different hood than what I went with. I originally picked up the hood that he recommended actually, and the Coral Life 2020 50 watt bulb, but the hood fell apart and my bulb fell into my tank, and that was with it just sitting there during the month-long cycle that I had. Just kind of fell apart, so I decided to go with the glass canopy and the LEDs that you see running in the tank right now, and I'll get to that in a second. The glass canopy I'm using is a Perfecto glass canopy made for 5.5 gallon tanks. I'll put a link to that in the video description. The LEDs I'm using are the Finnex FugeRay Marine Plus. I'll put a link to those as well, and those are really cool LEDs. They let you do white and blue lights. Right now I'm only running white because they look better in the video. I typically run the white and blue. I'll just flip that on for you real quick. There's the white and blue. You can also just run the blue to kind of simulate, I don't know if that's supposed to be moonlight or a certain setting for certain types of corals. I'm still learning myself. And then of course you can turn them off too, with a certain set of the switches. Let's see what else. My heater, I'm running a Marineland 100 watt, which is more than enough for a 5.5 gallon tank, and I had this running in my freshwater tank too, so it's done a really good job of keeping the temperature nice and even. I monitor it daily, and I think that's pretty much it for the equipment. I don't think I missed anything. I guess I can get into the water and the cycle. So the water, the saltwater I'm using, I actually picked up at the local fish store. They have their own water system, and they sell water by the gallon. And so I picked up a bunch of jugs and filled up with their water. I think they add in some nutrients, and so it's kind of better than what you can buy at like a Petco or even make yourself without buying a bunch of additional nutrients and stuff to throw in with whatever salt. And I'll probably continue doing that just because it's convenient for me to pick up the water. It's not too far from my office, and saves time, really. With these small tanks, they recommend a lot of water changes, so it'll save a lot of time making water every week. I can just, have it in stock and swap it out as I need to. So I'm using a spectrometer to monitor salinity. I have a water line. When I originally set up the tank and filled up the water, I put some masking tape on the side of the tank and drew a little water line where the water was, so I can monitor evaporation and just top off with reverse osmosis water. And I do that once a day. Every night when I get home from work, I pretty much top it off. And I think that type of maintenance is what a lot of people will warn about when it comes to managing reef aquariums. But I don't mind it. Manually topping it off also lets you look at the thermometer and just check on the state of the water and the health of the fish. And I think eyes on once a day is, for somebody that wants to get into this hobby, is probably something you're not going to mind doing anyway. So the cycle, I started the cycle on July 23rd. It's now August 20th. So it's cycled for almost a month. I added in the yellowtail damsel yesterday, and he looks pretty happy. He was a little stressed when I put him in. I think that's to be expected, but he's eaten. His body behavior. Well, this is just speaking from my experience with freshwater fish, but he doesn't seem stressed at all. He seems super comfortable and has explored all corners of the tank, and it just seems very relaxed. He's even found some little hiding spots down in the back of the coral, back of the dry rock. I've just been monitoring the salinity with a spectrometer over the cycle. Obviously the ammonia and the nitrites. The ammonia spiked about 2 weeks in with ghost feeding. Starting from the very beginning, I was ghost feeding flakes twice a day. I got the ammonia spike eventually, and then that never really came down. I had to add in more Dr. Tim's bacteria to get the ammonia to come back down, and then the nitrites went up, which is to be expected, and the nitrites are still kind of up, but I wanted to get a fish in there to finish out the cycling, because marine fish, if you look it up, look up the table, they have a high tolerance for nitrites, much higher than freshwater fish, and my nitrites were starting to come back down when I put this guy in, so he's just going to help finish out the cycle. I know a lot of people do fishless cycle, and then a lot of people add a fish to do it, have the fish do the cycle. So I waited as long as I could. A month is pretty patient, and I really want to be able to add a cleanup crew pretty soon as I start to do water changes. I did a water change the day before I added this guy in, which also helped bring the nitrates down. I want to get a cleanup crew in there, and he's going to help to add, just help finish out the cycle so we can start to bring in some of the invertebrates. And then eventually some coral. Once there's enough waste and byproduct of the critters in there for the coral to come in. So the fish, he was added via the float process. So for those of you who don't know what the float process is, it's basically you bring them in from the fish store, still in the bag, and you let the bag float in the fish tank, and the water temperature to equalize with the water temperature in the tank, and then you slowly add in tank water into the bag so that the fish can get acclimated to the actual water in the tank, because the tank is different than the water is different than the water that they were in at the fish store. And I even took a step further and did a little process of dumping water out of the bag and adding more water from the tank in, and did that a couple times just to slowly bring them to full tank water. and then I ended up dumping most of that out because I just didn't want to risk any stowaways or whatever you want to call it sneaking into my tank from the tank water from the fish store. So anyways, that's about it. I want to keep this video nice and short. The meat of the information that I want to share I'll put in the video description, just because it was kind of hard to find a setup. In fact, the setup that I'm running now I didn't actually find. It's just pieced together from a bunch of different forums and recommendations and that sort of thing. And I wanted to put this whole package together for somebody else who can follow my footsteps and get everything they need in you know, one place if they happen to stumble onto my video. And I'm going to continue on as I add in the cleanup crew and the coral. I'll make more videos and share more information, and please feel free to provide feedback. You know, I'm new to this, so I'm gonna keep learning, and I'm willing to help out however I can as well. And I think that's it for what I wanted to talk about. Quick shout out to the fish tank guy who made that 5.5 gallon budget tank, who really, I knew what I wanted to do, that I wanted to get into reefing, but he really, his video really got me started and got me motivated that you can make something look good in a 5.5 gallon tank and do it on a budget. A quick shout out to Superperson, because she put together a video of her putting together her own 5.5 gallon tank. I think that was a fluval spec, and she runs through what she does and her own methods of setup. She actually used live rock, I believe, where I used dry rock and dry sand. So a little bit different, but still motivating, and a lot of good information in there. And she did it with such confidence that, you know, it helped me to know that, you know, you can step into it. It's going to be okay. And then a couple forums, reefcentral.com and nanoreef.com. Great information there, and good community of people willing to help out. You know, they're fair. They'll put you in your place if you're doing something wrong. Like there'll probably be some people that have something to say about the fact that I got this guy in here before my nitrates got to 0. But there's people on both sides of the fence, and you know, that's what the whole hobby's all about, is sometimes pushing limits and sometimes playing it safe. So hopefully this video helps out. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you.